Hello guys, welcome back to the show. So today we're going to have a look at James Bond fragrances. Before we do that, here's a little clip of something. I actually put it on my TikTok. You can join my new TikTok by following the link in the description if you like. Had a nasty run-in with a naughty troll this week, and this is, although I'm making fun with it, he actually did say this. I actually had to deal with this message and actually a lot of worse stuff. So just have a look, see what you think. Had a bit of a run-in with a troll last night. I wanted to share it with you guys. The troll's name is Neil. Hi, Neil. Neil was a little bit cross with me. I'm not really sure why. And there was an exchange of words in Instagram messages. Neil's parting shot was this. Sad old bald fool. Younger than me, but you look like shit. And that's why, female name, binned you twice. Neil, that wasn't a terribly nice thing to say. Let's break down what you said there. Some of your other comments implied you're a bit of a right-on guy, a little bit woke, and I'm in favour of being woke and I'm in favour of equality and treating everyone with respect like you. But guys, you know, the bald community, we don't like hate speech against us. I'm fast becoming a member of the bald community, and you've got to be careful what you say about minority groups. You know, it ain't nice to pick on bald people. You wouldn't pick on a disabled person who's got a physical thing that they can't help, and you shouldn't pick on baldies. So stop the hate speech against bald people. It ain't on, Neil. It's not good. The other thing, old. Well, we all get old, so you can't really pick on someone and make fun of them for that, or at least if you do, it ain't terribly nice, Neil. The other fatal flaw in what you said there, Neil, you picked on the wrong person because you wanted to hurt my feelings. Well, I'm sorry, I don't really have any anymore. Well, I do, but I've detached them from myself, and I keep them in this box. I put them here many years ago. They stay in the freezer just in case I need them for a funeral or something, and then they go straight back in there after it's over. So, yeah, feelings, I don't really have any. The other stuff you said, I mean, it's just not nice. You've got to remember, they teach this to 6-year-old kids in school, Neil. When you say something on the internet, you can't take it back. It's there forever, and you might wake up the next day and think, whoops, I shouldn't really have said that. In fact, if you go too far, you might get the busies around your door, and you don't want that, Neil. I don't think you want that. So here's my suggestion to you, Neil. Think about what you said, and maybe it's time for you to apologise. Let me know. What do you think about that, guys? It's weird, isn't it? Okay, next up. Juice Plus, a mega blend, not sponsored. I bought this with my own money. Why on earth am I talking about it? So, Maria Whittaker, one of the great glamour models of the 1980s. I love to throw in some 80s British cultural references, and I first became aware of her aged about 10 or something on the cover of the computer game Barbarian. Amazing photo shoot that must have been. And then she was actually a page 3 girl of the year, 1 year, and she was in a Benny Hill video, a Genesis video with Benny Hill in it, and she was on the Benny Hill show, I do believe. Amazing, fantastic model from the 1980s, and it was just a dream come true to make a small connection with her when I messaged her and asked about her brand that I found out she's got, Juice Plus. A mega blend is what I bought. They also do super juice type tablets, and this is all those omega oils that apparently we need, and I probably don't get many because I don't like fish and stuff that has them in naturally. So I've bought them, I've been taking them about a week. Link in the description if you're interested. I want to show the power of the Smelly army, my followers. Go and buy them if you're in the UK. There's all these different types of omega oil, so I think these are like a level above what you can just buy down your local supermarket or whatever, and I feel my energy level has been good the last 3 or 4 days. I'll report back to you over the coming weeks. So let's get into the video then. James Bond fragrances. Unlike other YouTubers who've done videos where they said, here's what I think James Bond should wear as a fragrance or might wear, because obviously in the film they don't talk about fragrances, right? Other stuff more interesting to do in the films, like fighting Spectre or whatever he does. These are the fragrances the actual actors and even the author are reputed to wear on the internet. This is factually reported stuff. Let's check it out. Okay, let's get stuck into it then, guys. So the first person that I'm going to talk about, appropriately enough, is Ian Fleming. He was the author of all the James Bond novels, and he's an English gentleman, and his favourite fragrance, well documented, this is number 89 by Floris. Perfect fragrance for him, actually. So this one was launched way back in 1951. The top notes are lavender, bergamot, orange, neroli, petitgrain, and nutmeg. Your mid notes are rose, geranium, and ylang ylang. And in the base, you've got oak moss, musk, sandalwood, vetiver, and Virginia cedar. So this has been described by Luca Turin, the famous author, as the continuation of soap by other means, which is not a bad description. It's a very stuffy, old-fashioned fragrance. Even I find it a little stuffy sometimes, but I love it. I have it. It's a beautiful woody aromatic fragrance. The freshness in the beginning is very, very clear and very much a big feature of this one. You definitely have quite a lot of dandified floral tones. You know, florals can be absolutely great. This one is really aimed at men, I think, but it's got loads of rose and geranium in it. I didn't pick up on the ylang-ylang note so much, but you can definitely get this floral, you know, spray it on your handkerchief type feel. Your base notes are just your classic gentlemanly cedar, musk, oak wood, vetiver. It is a total classic if you like the smell of a really posh soap that lasts a little bit longer than the smell of a soap that you might use. It's a real old-fashioned, classic, gentlemanly fragrance. I love it. But you've really got to be in the mood for this one. You know, maybe wearing your favourite tweed jacket or something like that. Great, great stuff. I love it. Okay, let's move on to our next character that we've got to talk about. Now, I guess really that's going to be Sean Connery. Let's talk about the films, actually, the list of different years and all that kind of thing, because that's pretty important. So, we've got 27 movies in the last 59 years. The first ever one, then, according to what I found online, is Dr. No, 1962. Sean Connery then went on to be in From Russia with Love, Goldfinger, Thunderball. And then he had a little break and he came back, though, in You Only Live Twice, 1967. Diamonds Are Forever, 71. And then a bit of a weird one, 1983. Big gap there. He came back in Octopus. No, he didn't. No, sorry, Never Say Never Again. I won't list all of them. I actually saw Never Say Never Again at the cinema in 1983. Don't remember what age I was, but doing the maths, I must have been 6. Wow, man. I think that's the only one I ever saw in the cinema. Okay, so the fragrance of choice for Sean Connery, apparently, well, there are 2. One of them is Jicky by Guerlain. I'm going to come back to that one because one of the other protagonists actually favours it. So let's talk about it then when we come to him. But the other one he's really famous for is Habit Rouge by Guerlain, and this is this is incredible, guys. I have it. You can still buy it today. Very affordable price for this one. 65 was the year of the release, and your nose, of course, Jean-Paul Guerlain. The notes are lemon, Brazilian rosewood, orange, bergamot, lime, tangerine, and basil, and your mid notes are rose, carnation, sandalwood, cinnamon, patchouli, jasmine, and cedar, and your base notes vanilla, leather, amber benzoin, oak moss, and labdanum. It has just a hint of the classic Guerlainade, maybe that sort of sweet floral combination that's so famous and features in so many of their fragrances. It also has this kind of gentlemanly, dandified air as well. Again, a rose note in there, and we've got carnation in this. So the florals in gentlemanly, old-fashioned sense are really a big factor. The freshness there with the lemon and the orange and the bergamot and lime is very nice. Very, very, very good. However, this one is kind of almost like a combination of oriental notes with citrus, and that's what's so unique. It's got the benzoin and a vanillic feel in the base, but it's still got this freshness, so it's actually rather unique. It's as good as so many really expensive niche fragrances that you can buy today. I've had compliments on this one, and it fits very well with the rather classy gentleman Sean Connery, both in the Bond films and in anything else that you've seen him in. He always plays this kind of gentlemanly character most of the time. Of course, he was in the Indiana Jones films, wasn't he, too? It's a slightly different sort of character. Yeah, it's perfect. The James Bond kind of vibe for me is this. It's a bit like my kind of taste in fragrances. It's your old school, gentlemanly, classic type fragrances, and Habit Rouge, it just ticks all the boxes. Totally classy choice from the main man himself, Sean Connery. Let me know who your favourite Bond is in the comments down below. I can't really pick between Roger Moore and Sean Connery, so I'm going to pick Basildon Bond, played by Russ Abbott in the 1980s. If you're in the UK, you may remember. The rest of you just completely didn't get what I was talking about. Okay, let's go on to Roger Moore. Now, there's an interesting thing here. I did not know this until I researched the video. Apparently, he was connected with Fabergé's Brut in 1970. I never knew this. He became a member of the Fabergé board, and that was the company owned then by George Barry. So he was involved, apparently, in promoting Fabergé's Brut in the early 70s. That's the first I've heard of it, guys. So great fragrance, of course, a classic aromatic fougere, a bit sort of laughed at as a tacky cheapie, but it is, still smells great. I would find it a bit, if I may use the term, brutish for Roger Moore, or even for James Bond in general. It's a little bit hairy-chested, maybe a little bit rugged, rather than we expect that refined sophistication in Bond. But I don't feel that's exactly quite a Bond fragrance, but I do really like it. The one he actually wore then, reputedly, is Jicky from Guerlain, very famous fragrance. I think it's kind of really thought of mainly as a female fragrance, but it's clearly really rather unisex. It's an amber fougere launched way back in 1889. Aim Guerlain apparently created it, and I'll whack off through the notes. I beg your pardon. What I mean is I'll whiz through the notes: rosemary, bergamot, lemon, and mandarin orange. Then you got lavender, tonka bean, orris root, basil, and jasmine, with the base notes being vanilla, leather, spices, benzoin, sandalwood, amber, and Brazilian rosewood. It has this rather funky animalic tone to this one, which doesn't really appear in the note listing, but there's definitely, some people have even said, a little bit of a fecal undertone. I mean, that's a terrible word to use in connection with a nice fragrance, but it's definitely funky. It's got this freshness, again, the kind of dandified, rarefied air, and then this definite sort of funky, musky, animalic undertone. Now, is there civet? Or so I would say civet is what I'm picking up when I smell Guerlain. Be careful with this one, but if someone as classy as Roger Moore could wear it, it's clearly good stuff. So yeah, Jicky, interesting choice. If you're looking for an alternative, I love Mouchoir de Mouchoir by Guerlain, which is similar, but I think a little less funky, and maybe that one could be a little overly mega powdery and female smelling. I find Mouchoir de Mouchoir just that little bit more gentlemanly and less polarising and or offensive. So those are really the classic people we all remember from the Bond films. Let's just go for another gentleman that I almost forgot. George Lazenby appeared in one movie. That was 1969's On Her Majesty's Secret Service. We don't have a fragrance that we know he wore. By the way, these are the fragrances the actors wore. God knows what James Bond actually was meant to wear in the film. The fragrances don't feature in the films. So this gentleman was in the film that is associated with the book, of course, originally On Her Majesty's Secret Service. And in that book, it is mentioned that Bond actually wears Eucharis Eau de Toilette from G.O.F. Trumper, a floral woody musk fragrance. And of course, you can still get all these today. This was a 1912 release. The top notes are blackcurrant, caraway, and coriander. Middle notes of lily of the valley and jasmine, and base notes of oak moss, sandalwood, and musk. Classic gentlemanly stuff again. This one a little bit more rich and sort of potentially heavy, but almost like a powerhouse of the very early pre-World War I world, or World War I kind of era. And very interesting, sort of dark and rich, with a few, again, you got florals in there, the lily of the valley and the jasmine. I don't own this one, but maybe it's time I added it to the collection. So George Lazenby, we'll tag him with that one, even though it's just a book that he happened to play the film thing of. Okay, let's move on then to the more, what I would consider the modern era of Bond folks. So the next chap who came along was, of course, Timothy Dalton, a bit of a forgotten guy. He was there for apparently 9 years. I should have listed a few more of the films that people did, so let's just go back and recap a brief thing on that. Who was in which one? Let's have a look on here. So as far as Roger Moore goes then, he was in a ton of them as well. Live and Let Die, 1973. The Man with the Golden Gun, the next year. Spy Who Loved Me, The Spy Who Loved Me, 1977. Moonraker, 1979. And For Your Eyes Only, 81. Then he was back for Octopussy. You couldn't get away with that name now, could you? Or maybe you could. 1983. And I think that's most of the ones he was in, or if not all of them. So Timothy Dalton came along in 1987 for The Living Daylights and License to Kill. I think that's the two, but I'd correct me. Oh, and A View to a Kill too, 85 was him. Now, we couldn't find a fragrance for him. The only thing I could dig up here was Sebastian Jara, the great reviewer from whatever his channel's called now. Sorry, Sebastian. Smelling Great Fragrance Reviews. I think he's changed it again. Can't keep up with that guy. Great reviewer, though. Love his stuff. Incredible knowledge. And he said that an appropriate fragrance he felt for that gentleman, Timothy Dalton, would be Penhaligon's 1870. So I'll briefly talk about that one, but this is my utter fail in the video because we don't really know what this guy actually wears. So it was only released back in 2005, already making this a little bit of a stretch as he stopped being James Bond by then. Top notes of pepper, yuzu and coriander, middle notes incense, cinnamon and rose, and your base notes cedar, sandalwood and musk. I don't know anything about that one. Moving swiftly on. Okay, Pierce Brosnan, a great Bond, the English-Irish hybrid person, or is he just Irish? I don't know. Anyway, he sounds like an English posh bloke, but I think his roots are in Ireland, and the name is an Irish one, of course. Appropriate enough, Green Irish Tweed by Creed. Brosnan, let's check out the movies he was in. Quite a little run he had. He was pretty good, I thought, Brosnan. So he was in GoldenEye, Tomorrow Never Dies, The World Is Not Enough, and Die Another Day. I think I'm no Bond aficionado. So Green Irish Tweed, a classic fragrance, first created in 1985. It's very similar, many people think, to Cool Water. Same perfumer, many say, Pierre Bourdon, although officially Olivier Creed did the Creed one. The top notes are lemon, verbena and iris, middle note of violet leaf, and base notes of ambergris and sandalwood. Really, really nice. Got a kind of very strong dihydromercenol accord in there, which can remind you a little bit of laundry cleaning type stuff or air fresheners. But don't let that put you off. It's a better version of of Cool Water. Lovely lemon verbena note and really, really nice kind of smooth, woody, fresh, almost, this sounds weird, a melancholy air to me, but a very, very classy and refined fragrance. Again, would go really great with a lovely tweed jacket or something like that. Very, very gentlemanly stuff, and again, perfect for Mr. Bond. It brings us right up to the latest man, which is, of course, Daniel Craig. Let's talk about the films he's been in, and I have not really watched so many of these, I've only maybe seen a little bit of one or two here and there on the TV. I think he started with Casino Royale, 2006, then Quantum of Solace came in 2008, Skyforce 2012, Spectre 2015, and we've just had released what was delayed, No Time to Die, where you wore a rather funky red jacket to the premiere. And that's the latest one. So Daniel Craig, great guy, always kind of ripped, muscly looking guy, and very, very charismatic figure. Apparently, during the filming of Quantum of Solace, he was known to be wearing all the time tobacco vanille, a bit different to the others. So we've got a very refined, gentlemanly feel with the others. A lot of freshness going on, sort of fresh, floral, bit stuffy, old-fashioned smells in a nice way. This one, not in that category at all. 2007 release from the house of Tom Ford, Tobacco Vanille. And apparently the fragrance nose behind this one is Olivier Gillotin. Your notes in it are tobacco leaf and spicy notes, middle notes of vanilla, cacao, tonka bean and tobacco blossom, and your base notes are dried fruits and woody tones. Very unctuous, rich, sweet combination of a lovely tobacco leaf note with a kind of sweet dried fruits and vanilla sweetness. It's really, really good. It's not quite my cup of tea because I find it a bit too rich and a bit too sweet and a bit too heavy. I personally, if I want a slightly sweet tobacco combination, I like a Xerjoff and Naxos, but who am I to argue with Daniel Craig? It does have a gentlemanly kind of, it's more of a modern man kind of vibe, but it's definitely got that kind of alpha male vibe. I mean, you'll know you've been spoken to when you smell that one. Maybe Tuscan leather by then would have been good for a Bond. Maybe I'll be the next Bond, guys. What do you reckon? Unlikely. They won't want a bald Bond, I guess. I just have to face it. But I would wear, if I was going to be James Bond, I would wear Bois de Portugal by Creed. Obvious, wasn't it? Guys, I'm going to leave it there. Thanks ever so much for joining me. Let me know what you think about, at least I gave you the real James Bond fragrances, not just the ones I imagined Bond might wear. Please discuss in the comments down below. See you in the next video. Whatever you're doing in life, let's project. And remember, sometimes life may stink, but we can always smell good. Bye-bye.
Viveur, le nouveau parfum pour un barnetnaughton Wilson. Parce que la vie est faite pour être appréciée.